All right. So elements of government. Now we're going to start as though we are still learning, and so we're going to define basic concepts, meaning and scope of government. And I'm sure you've been told that government can be defined in three different ways, which WAEC will face. We'll ask questions from those three phases. You can define government as an institution of the state. You can also define government as a process or as an art of governing. And you can define government as an academic field of study. WAEC wanted to cover all these three definitions and explain, and then the characteristics and features and stuff like that. So we start from the first one. Government as an art of governing. No, let's start with government as an institution of the state. Okay, so government as an institution of the state is the machinery. It's a setup. A system set up by the state to administer its functions and duties. So it's set up like that to keep the state organized, set up like that to run the affairs of the state. That's what it means to administer. So you administer your duties only when you have a machinery, a system. So that's what government as an institution of the state means. A system, a machinery that is set up by a state. The state does not really mean states and capital. It's of course you know that the state has its characteristics. A state will have similar characteristics but different from other characteristics of other states. So as long as there are similar characteristics, there is a unified boundary, so to say, geographical boundary though, a unified law principles, then that's set, that whole area that abides by that and have a common boundary and all that area is a state. So government as an institution of the state is about that kind of state, not a state but state. Okay, so now the government as an institution of the state is made up of three organs, which you know as the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The executive implements policies. The legislature then they make the laws, and then the judiciary interprets the law. So they work hand in hand. So it's under the government as an institution of the state that you have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Now, the second one, government as an art of governing. Art. Now, under this section, the government is a body that is vested with supreme power of the affairs of the state. That is given supreme power, ultimate power to run the affairs of the state. So it's the government that holds the power of the state. So that gives them the authority to make law. If they don't have that power, they wouldn't make the laws. Give them the authority to enforce the law and implement policies. Now, this government can punish anybody that goes against the rules or breaks the law because they have that power. That's government as an art of governing, a body in which power is vested on to run the affairs of the state. A body, like not a human body, of course, a group of people with a head who have the power to run the state. Then we have government as a field of study. So government is a subject, but we know government as a term, a noun, is what we've been defining then. But it's also a subject. Okay, so it's a social science subject, and it is known as a political science. It's known as political science in higher institutions. Okay, so government studies covers international relations, cooperative politics, public administration, and so many other areas in the university. So as a field of study, we can simply say government is a subject, or we say government is a social science subject to well define it, that is studied at various educational institutions, whether primary, secondary, or tertiary. You've defined it. Now let's look at the characteristics, the features of government. I'm just doing a leg over because you have all learned this CSS1 work also. Now the features of government, we have constitution. Now it's the government that make this set of rules, that, and this set of rules is not just for you, the citizens. It's for them also to guide them in, running the states, running the country. If you remember the olden days, of course you don't. We had system of governments where you have chiefs. It's in the villages now. And if some places that don't use written constitution, the chiefs, the judge cases based on what the wise men tell them and what he feels, the king also feels at that point that is right. And in such a country or in such a place, you can misjudge. You can judge and everybody goes home. Some not happy. Others feel, well, if it were this set of people, you wouldn't judge it that way. And all this is possible because there is no written constitution. There is nothing written down. Now, if there was something written down as to if somebody does this, this is the punishment. If somebody does this, the government will be able to know, well, you know the rule, this is what you must serve. So constitution helps the government also, it guides them to be able to run the country without having issues or things to, when they settle cases in courts, you don't feel cheated, especially when you know that it's settled according to the books, because you know the rules, you know the constitution of the country and stuff. So constitution is a major characteristic of a government. Also, we have another feature or characteristic of government change, periodic change. A government must change. After a specific period of time, it should change. You shouldn't have a permanent government, especially if you are in a democratic or elective government setting. It should change. Also, the third one, legitimacy. If a government is legitimate, it should enjoy the support of the people. So it's a sign of illegitimacy when a government is not supported by the citizens. Well, you know that people will always, not everybody will like a particular president or governor or whatever. But if majority of the country or the states you are running don't support you, then it's a sign of illegitimacy. Also, governments should make revenue. Another feature, another characteristic of government is revenue. They should make this revenue in different ways so that they can run the administration. Things that raise up money for the country, like crude oil, cocoa, and stuff. Mind you, it's not only those things that are revenue. Education is revenue. Some people can offer teachings as a major area in their country. Things you cannot even imagine can bring money to a country or can be a revenue to a country. Another one is political power. The government should possess political power. And that's the tool of orderliness in a state. If you don't have the power to correct, power to punish offenders and all that, people will not be orderly in the state. Crimes and everything, because of a weak government. Another one is universality of government's reach. The government should not be for only one set of people. See, the jurisdiction of the government must reach everyone within the state. Not like everyone in the country should become president. But if you have different ethnic groups, then all the ethnic groups must once in a while be represented in government. So if you are doing zoning, fine. Today is the Yorubas, tomorrow should be the Igbos, the next time should be the Hausas, then the Fulanis, then the what. It should just reach everybody. That's universality of government. Now, and then we have public institutions. That's public societies, political societies. Now, institutions that are public are government owned. So a public servant is serving the public. That means you are government. A civil servant is serving the government. A public servant is serving the public. So the president is a public servant, government is a public servant. Of course, you already know all this. So public institutions should be different from other institutions within the society. Of course, let's not waste too much time there. Now, the functions of government. I'm going to be quick in this one because we have so many other areas. Government should make law. So number one, lawmaking. That wants to make the law. The law is not made by the citizens. The government makes the law. It's not one person making of law. There's a senate. There is a group of people that make the law, and the law is processed and passed from one table to the other, and then finally signed and becomes a law. But this whole setting is run by the government. The government must defend the country through the military. So the military fights to defend the boundaries, to protect the boundaries of the country, because it's the country's rights. It's the government's responsibility to defend the country. Number three, government should provide employment. That can also be a private sector duty, but the government is a major function of the government. They should provide employment for the citizens. They should maintain law and order. And that's why we have police, you have different kind of security agencies in the country or the states, so many, just to maintain law and order. The government's another function, promotion of economic growth and development. Another one, maintaining good relations with other sovereign states or countries. We're talking about foreign diplomacy now. And then next one, government should protect civil liberties. Your rights, your freedom, freedom to speech and freedom of whatever, all them. So government should protect civil liberties. Also, government should protect lives and properties. So you have security agents. So you have anybody threatening your life or property, you go to the police and report it. And by right, without what you've been seeing in Nigeria, they collect money and all that. They should come to your rescue, free of charge. They're paid by the government to do that, to protect your properties, protect you. And the administration of justice should be done by the government also. That's through the law courts. So you can't just live a life that puts others at risk and they become afraid and you hurt them and go scot-free in a well-run country. The government should hold you responsible and give justice to whoever is offended. That's why if the law court of a country is faulty or corrupt, there is a crime in the country would be from the top class, because they're supposed to protect the people and not able to protect the people, and so they use the vulnerable and promise them protection and stuff like that. Also, government should formulate and implement policies. And the last one, they should provide social welfare services. These are the functions of government. Okay, the second part of what we're going to look at is still under section A, remember, the basic concepts and principles of government. So we're talking about power, authority, legitimacy, sovereignty, democracy, and all sorts. You know them, so I'm just reminding you. All right, we start with power. Power is the ability to control the actions of others, whether they wish to be controlled or not. But the ability to control the actions of others is power. It's the ability to enforce decisions or enforce command through the position of means of sanctions. Because people know that if they don't obey the rules of the land, they will face the consequences, as in the law. Then they obey it. That's where the power of that's what power can do. Now, sanctions and punishments are always applied for people who don't obey or comply to the rules. And so this makes people makes people want to obey the rules because they want to avoid the sanctions, the punishments. So power is the ability to control the actions of other people. As we are, let's take Governor WAEC, for instance, former governor. You know how he reacts to being disobeyed. So last time he went to what's it called, My One Market. There's a very big market there, and then he announced that they should use the old naira notes. This in the market, they should collect it since they're going to the banks. But he received information that My One Market, they were not collecting that. He went there and closed down the market for weeks. He has the authority, he has the power as the governor, and he gave an order. And whoever would go against that would have to face the sanctions or the punishments. So they didn't obey. He didn't have to arrest anybody. They just faced it. He just had to send security agencies. They go there and close the whole place down. Nobody enters there for weeks, I think months. So because of this way of handling humans, you will see they will be compelled to obey the rules. So you understand, power is the ability to control the actions of others by command, by enforcing or kind of creating sanctions and punishments that they would have to face if they don't obey. Just understand that. Now we have the forms of power. We have political power, we have physical power, we have military power, we have economic power. Political power is the type of power that is exercised by the government in the running of the affairs of the state. Decisions that are made through this type of power will be binding on the state. And the power resides in the three arms of government, which this power is derived from the Constitution actually. But in physical power, it involves the use of force to compel people to obey. That's physical power. So the police, security agencies, they use physical power because they will drag you, they will point a gun at you, they will, they will inconvenience you physically to make you obey or to compel you to do what they want according to the rule. Remember, it should still be derived from the Constitution, whatever power they want to. So I've mentioned that security agencies, police and all that, they use physical power. But the three arms of government, they use political power. Now, military power is the use of forceful overthrow of the government. Use force to overthrow the government. Also, maybe riots and defense of the state is part of what military power is useful for. So I'm saying military power can be used to forcefully remove a government. They have the resources, they have physical power, they have the information they need to overthrow a government. And if they want to overthrow a government, they can easily do that. But when they are under a government, they can be used very well. 2 countries in Africa have been taken over by the military. Currently, one is fighting, and the other they fought and stabilized, but it's still under the military. So it's easy for the military to overthrow the government because they have enough manpower and they have enough ammunition and stuff and enough knowledge and information. So military power. But the defense of a state or territory and to protect the properties of the country, territories of the country against other countries or external forces, is what military power can be very useful in. Alright, then we have economic power. Now this type of power involves the use of economic resources that are, at your disposal to control the actions of others. You see, rich men exercise economic power over the poor. What they do is they influence government policies that will suit them, the rich people. And so the poor just have to go with what they have set in place because they're not able to influence that. So economic power is mostly used by the rich men over the poor. Now the sources of power, like I already said, power that is right should be derived from the constitution. So the first source of power is the constitution. If it's a democratic state, actually, the power should carry, the constitution will carry the power of an individual through ballot. So if you're not voted into power, you shouldn't have the power. So the constitution makes sure that stands. Now so another source of power is through inheritance. You see, in most societies there is this inheritance, the common means of acquiring power, like say in the villages or places where they still practice traditional stuff. People born into royal families, they have the right to ascend into power. So even when they are children, they have the elements of power in them because they know they are future kings and nothing's going to take it away from them. That kind of power is through inheritance. Now we have force as a source of power also, coercion. Now, the use of force, like this essentially by the military, that's what they are. They are force men. So political power is derived by the military if they overthrow the government. And they can do that because they are force men. They apply force to do whatever they want to do. They believe that if you don't apply force, people are going to take you for granted or they won't obey. So coercion or force is another source of power and mostly characteristic of the military. Now there is also the use of charisma. Power is conferred on many people through their personal qualities and influence, actually. Now people that have zeal and charisma or the attributes of a leader. Example of some such people like Nelson Mandela of South Africa. Now if he speaks, people will respect him, obey him because of what he has done, his characteristics, the attributes he has of a leader, the zeal he had to liberate his country. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the same thing. Obafemi Awolowo and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. All these people, their charisma is a source of their power. Also, the fifth one, position of authority, is a source of power. Take for instance, I'm a teacher and I am a form teacher of a class. I have authority over that class. So in some ways, the final say belongs to the teacher. And so a teacher can say, don't go out, and you won't. A teacher can say, go out, and you should. Now, position of authority, like government positions, though are controlled by the constitution, but they have power as of given to them by means of they are the is the governor, is the president. Take for instance, Governor Wike, I would still use because you're familiar with him. He likes this a lot. He likes to show he has the power to do so many things. Remember when we had lockdown and stuff? He would go out to the road, stop cars, impound them, seize them, arrest so many people by himself. He goes there just to show his power. I'm saying this because the police, the security agents would have done their work that he sent them to do. But he, knowing that he can do it, of course, goes there and shows his authority. So position of authority can also be a source of power. Now, this kind of power, it ceases to exist when such people vacate their office. So it's temporal, which is not the best. Now, the last one source of power we're going to consider now is wealth. Those that control economic resources, they use the advantage of wealth to acquire power. They have money, so they can, buy whoever, buy whatever, to make them, have positions where they can gain more influence and stuff. This is what you'll be doing in economic determinism. So we have defined power. The next one is authority. Authority is the right to command or direct others and enforce obedience. The power of authority is derived from one's office and from the consent of the people. That means the people must accept the right to rule of whoever is in authority. So the right to command or direct others and enforce obedience is known as authority. This is why even military governments try to legitimize its authority, because they seek consent of the people. Now, but in a democratic society, the electorate, they are the primary source of power and political authority. You see, the three sources of power we're going to discuss, sources of authority, political authority actually, we're going to discuss now is traditional authority, legal authority, and charismatic authority. Traditional authority is the right to rule based on customs and traditions. Remember, traditional office are hereditary, so it's about inheritance. So the authority that will be based on norms, customs, traditions of a particular society, of course. Now, that's where you have the Obas, the Emirs. The Obis, they derive their political power from traditional authority. Then we have legal authority. This type of authority is derived from a body of rules and regulations governing a society. That's what we call constitution. Of course, it can be written or it can be unwritten. We have charismatic authority, which is derived from extraordinary characteristics, qualities, which a person has that enables him to lead others. What is charisma, first of all? Is the extraordinary characteristic, or let's say quality, which a person possesses, and these characteristics give the person right to rule. Okay, right now, so types of authority. We have political authority. Remember, we're just mentioning types of sources of political authority. Those are traditional authority, legal authority, and charismatic authority. But what are the types of authority? One, political authority, which we just discussed the sources there. We have military authority, we have traditional authority, we have delegated authority, technical authority, judicial authority, administrative authority. We've discussed political authority. What we can say is the right of a political office holder to command. The right of a political office holder, somebody who is in office, holds the position of maybe a president, of a governor. The right the person has to make and enforce policies, of course, through the constitution, is political authority. Military authority is the right of the armed forces to use force to maintain law and order and also security in the state. But traditional authority is the power that is made legitimate by the customs and traditions. So, of course, I said it's acquired through inheritance. Delegated authority is authority that is conferred on the subordinates to carry out certain powers on specified matters. He only has the authority when it comes to a particular matter. The delegate matters, areas of the economy, constitution, belong to this part of people to play their part. This way they have power. This way they have the authority to, I'll just use a little example. You can't be having an issue with in the law court, and then road safety comes in to settle it. No, police and road safety are not the same. So the authority the police have is not the same as the road safety. The responsibilities are different. So the authority is delegated to them in different sections. All right, we have technical authority. It's a person's authority to, or due to the person's expertise in a recognized field. So if you have technical authority, then you're an expert in a recognized field. So you have authority in that area. A teacher has authority in teaching field. An engineer has authority in his own field. So that's technical authority. And we have judicial authority. It's authority that the law courts and judges have to issue fines, to issue punishments to individuals, or even the government. We have administrative authority, which is the right of the professionals like civil servants, managers, to make their decisions in their respective offices. So I've mentioned 7 types of authority, and this is where we're going to stop today. It's already about 10 o'clock. I don't want to take too much of your time. Some people don't have batteries, some people don't have data and stuff, but let's be on time next class and try and just put the record, the voice records, and listen to them. Take some notes if you need. But no, that none of this information will be carried over.
Right. Last time we did, I think, introduction to government, and we did things about power and all those authority and stuff. So today we're just going to continue from there because the topic, the set of topics we are in, basic concepts, is a long one. So we're going to keep going. So we've done power, authority, state, nation, society. We've done that part. But to continue from legitimacy. So we go from legitimacy, sovereignty, democracy, and we keep going. That's where we are right now. So we start with legitimacy. The word legitimacy is derived from a Latin word, which is legitimus. Legitimus means lawful or according to the law. So in government, legitimacy is the acceptance of the political system by the people in compliance with the laid down rules and regulations. That is, the people accept a political system which complies with some laid down rules and regulations. Now, a government is considered to be legitimate if it has come into office, through the right way, like there is a general recognized and acceptable means of free and fair election. So that's the legitimate government. It comes in through that means. It's not a government that overthrows another government. So a legitimate government is a democratic government. That's what it means. People vote them in. So because for people to vote you in, that means those people accept you. Now, a government also means or legitimacy also means the support of the people toward a government in power. Since the stability of government depends on the population, the support of the people, then that can become legitimacy. I mean, the support of the people toward the government in power can show legitimacy. And what are the factors that affect legitimacy? Number one, leadership. When a leader performs very well, people will accept his regime. So that makes it a legitimate government. So leadership. Another one is common national symbols. We have common national symbols like national anthem, pledge, national flag, coat of arms, national passports, and all those. It encourages legitimacy. When you observe national holidays, and that means you accept the common heroes and heroines. That also will affect legitimacy. Another one is popular participation. For legitimacy to take place, we have various interest groups such as political parties and pressure groups, trade unions. All these must be allowed to participate in government affairs. That's when you can say government is legitimate. Also, we have foreign diplomacy. These are the foreign policies that your country or a government of a country adopts. That will determine how legitimate that country is before other nations. That's how those other nations see your country. How legitimate they see you will depend on the foreign policies that you adopt as a government. Another one is good government. So when the government meets up the expectations of the people, it's a legitimate government. It's because its legitimacy is recognized. That's why some military governments they seek to legitimize their government by implementing good policies. First of all, they force them their way in, and they try to make their government legitimate by implementing good policies. So good government can also enhance or affect legitimacy. Another one is popular support. If a government in power receives support of the people, that government is legitimate. Now, in modern democracy, the party that receives the greatest support in an election forms a legitimate government. It's not a rigged election. I'm talking about a perfect election where the people, the most citizens voted for wins. Let's say we are 2 million in a country. If 1.8 million or even 1.2 million cast votes for one person, automatically that person wins because his vote is more than the vote for him is more than the vote for others. Now that shows that a large percentage of the country, the citizens, want you. And when it's like that, you're a legitimate government. So popular support. Now you may also know that legitimacy can also be defined as a sense of rightfulness. I say legitimate, righteous, something like that. That's like the other time we did power. Now if we say power is the ability to get other people to do what you want them to do, then authority is having the right to do that, having the right to make people do what you want them to do is what is called authority. So when you have authority and we have power and there is authority, then you're a legitimate government. That gives birth to legitimacy. I'm just telling you the relationship between legitimacy, power, and authority. If you have power and you have authority, that's you have the ability to make people do what you want them to do, and you've been given the authority by the constitution because you become a government, that's authority, then you are legitimate. That's legitimacy taking place. Now let's look at sovereignty. Sovereignty may be defined as a supreme power in a state to exercise full legal authority over its own affairs within its territory without any form of external control. Now, John Bowden in 1530, he lived from 1530 to 1596, he introduced a modern theory of sovereignty. He's a French political philosopher, John Bowden. Now, he defines sovereignty as a supreme and final legal authority above and beyond which no further legal power exists. That's like a sovereign state has your absolute power to make and enforce laws within its territory without any form of external influence. That's sovereignty. So what are the types of sovereignty? We have legal sovereignty. Now, this one is power which a state has to make laws and enforce them. So the body responsible for making and enforcing the laws of a state is the legal sovereign. It's known as the legal sovereign body. Okay. So the next one is political sovereignty. This is the type of sovereignty that the supreme power is vested on the electorate. That's the people. The people have the supreme power to establish their own government. And how do they establish that? Through voting. So like PDP says, power to the people. The people decide. That's what it should be. People decide who is their government or who governs them. So the power is in the people. That's why you see close to election time, politicians in Nigeria will come and be doing good things. We even help you sell in the market. We help do all sorts of things because they know you have the final say in their winning of election or something. So the people's mandate through that ballot box forms the power of the government. We have another one, internal sovereignty. It's the power of the state to exercise power over its nationals within its territorial areas. Then the external sovereignty is the freedom from external control. Freedom from external control is called external sovereignty, as the government has the power to conduct its affairs without external influence. Then we have de facto sovereignty. This a body that acquires its sovereignty of a state through force. It's evident through the forceful seizure of government, like military invasions or revolutions. It uses force to ensure total obedience to its will. That's de facto sovereignty. And you have de jure sovereignty. And this type of sovereignty is acquired in accordance to the laws of the land. It's opposed to the use of force. That's the opposite of de facto sovereignty is de jure sovereignty. Alright, de jure. What are the characteristics of sovereignty? Number one, indivisibility. The powers of a state are final and cannot be shared or divided. That's indivisibility. One characteristic of sovereignty. Another characteristic of sovereignty is permanence. Sovereignty of a state is permanent as long as the state exists. So government may change, but the state sovereignty cannot change. Another one is absoluteness. This means that a state gives order to all and receives order from none. The state gives orders to the people. They don't receive order from the people. The power of a sovereign state cannot be limited. That's absoluteness. And number four, absence of foreign control. That characteristic of sovereignty. The powers of a sovereign state are supreme in its own territory and are very free from external influence. Then we have comprehensiveness. The power of a sovereign state extends over all persons, over all organizations, and over all associations that is in the territory of that state. That's comprehensiveness. Everything all together, governed by that power. And the last one, inalienability. Inalienability. This means that the powers of the sovereignty of a state cannot be transferred. Now, if it is given away, it cannot be regained. If you give it away, it cannot be regained. So, but if it's not given away, then it cannot be transferred to another person. That's inalienability. And we look at democracy. Democracy, the system of government based on popular consent. As the electorate freely choose their government. The electorate, the people voting, they choose their government. This is like saying it is the government with the approval of the people. Democracy is the government with the approval of the people. Now, democracy is a fusion of two words: demos, meaning people, and kratia, meaning rule of government. So the origin of the word is traced back to the Greek city-states because they permitted freedom of speech and ideas, the Greeks. According to Abraham Lincoln, democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I'm sure this is the one you people use always. Democracy allows the people to choose or reject their leaders. It's regarded as the best form of government. It can be adopted in a country. So democracy is the best form of government. What are the types of democracy? We have direct, or we call it classical democracy. The form of democracy where all party decisions or all political decisions are made directly by all the citizens. All the citizens make political decisions. The procedure of majority rule is adopted. And this type of democracy was practiced in ancient Greek states and pre-colonial Igbo village republics. Then the second one, we have modern representative or indirect democracy. Modern democracy, or you call it representative democracy, or you call it indirect democracy. That is, citizens exercise their political rights by electing representatives who will periodically represent them in political office, like what you are doing now. It's not like the direct or classical democracy, such a way that it is periodic, and the people don't make decisions, political decisions. They only elect the people to lead them. What are the features of democracy? We have democracy implies periodic, free, and fair elections to elect political office holders. Periodic means, they have a certain period of time to rule. 4 years. After 4 years, there should be another election. After another 4 years, there should be another election. That's periodic. That's one feature of democracy. And those elections should be free and fair. Free in such a way that you're not paid. You're not paid to vote for somebody. It should be free to all, but as long as you are qualified to vote, you should be able to vote without limitations. Not if you don't have so amounts, you cannot enter here to vote and something like that. And it should be fair in the sense that it should not be rigged. People should not vote and then their votes don't count. Then and carry who you want and put in place. That's not fair. So it should be a free and fair election. Number 2, fundamental human rights are recognized and protected. In democracy, that's what it means. They recognize the rights of the citizens. You see how that NSAS protest stuff. The people were just angry that the police control all their. In fact, if they see you with big phone, they say you are Yahoo boy. They arrest you. They treat you like a criminal, even if you are not. So that was not, recognizing the rights of the citizens. Citizens have rights. to hold big phones. They have right to hold whatever they want to, as long as it's not a breach to the rules or laws of the land. And then they are even supposed to protect the fundamental rights of the people, like in the law courts. So even when criminals or thieves are arrested, they are not guilty until they are proven guilty. That's because the right of a human being or a citizen is protected. So you see, until you are declared by the law or by a judge sentenced to something, then you are not guilty. So until then, that person should be free to walk, to move around, to do things. That's fundamental human rights. Number 3, majority rule. That's the will of the people through the ballot prevails. Majority rule. And there is equality before the law. There is equality. Nobody is above the law. And opposition parties are allowed to exist, and there is presence of party system. So if like now APC won the election, there is under review still. It doesn't mean they should scatter PDP, scatter other parties. Other parties that lost should still exist freely. That's a feature of democracy. Then we have public opinions on government policies and programs are allowed. You see, you can talk about the president. Somebody can go online and say things about the president, say things about the government, and he's not arrested because public opinions are allowed in a democracy. Where it doesn't, like I've seen cases where the Nigerian government arrests some people because of what they say. That's a failure on democracy. Because democracy, people should speak their minds. Public opinions are allowed. Also, understand that there are some statements that triggers a law in the law book. There are some. If you're making an opinion about someone, be clear to say that this is your opinion. Don't state it as a fact and make people believe that. So state it that I think, I feel, the way I see it, this is what is happening, or I stand to be corrected. Quote me wrong, stuff like that. Like it show that you're making. This is your own opinion. This is not confirmed yet. It's not a fact. If not, you can be charged to court by the government for infringing some rights, because government also have rights. Now, the judiciary must be independent without any form of influence. The judiciary, the law sector. Now we have people that propose the laws, things as the legislature, the judiciary, or all lawmaking bodies of the country. The judiciary must be independent. There should be no form of influence. And it should not be that the government controls the judiciary in such a way that they do their will and not the right thing. The principle of separation of power must be maintained if it's a democracy system. There should be freedom of the press against intimidation. So there should be an effective process of changing governments to prevent dictatorship. The rule of law must be applied. Government rule based on the laid down laws. Government should rule based on the laid down laws. Political equity or equality is an important attribute of democracy. That's one man, one vote. Now, how about the disadvantages, the demerits of democracy? Number 1, democracy in an illiterate society could be very dangerous. People can overdo. Number 2, decision making is slow due to laid down procedures to be followed. You see, they can pass a bill for review and it takes months, if not years, because it has to pass through so many hands before it's passed into law. So decision making will be slow. The votes are counted on the basis of quantity and not quality. It's how many people vote you in that matters, not how many right or good people vote you in. Understand what I'm saying? 500,000 people vote for one person. Out of 500,000, 20 are good people that are sincere in who they are voting for. Others could be intimidated or whatever, or maybe they have selfish interest in the government and stuff like that. That's to show you that quality is what they need. Quantity is what they need. How many? Not quality, not how good or how rich or how poor or how whatever, how genuine. As long as you have the highest number of votes, you're the winner. So quality and not quantity. That's another disadvantage of democracy. So that's why you see you are seated here and you really know that there is another government that should be in power, and you would like another government to be in power. And it looks like this is even what everybody wants. And logically thinking, somebody in his right senses would want to vote another person that is not in power now. But you discover it's another person that won. Who you would think, the people that voted for him, are they with their right senses? That's to show you it's quantity, not quality. So if the people that vote the wrong person, the people trying to vote the wrong person are more than the people trying to vote the right person, the wrong person will lead, because it's quantity, not quality. Number 4, elections bring about thuggery. You see thugs everywhere, violence. bribery and corruption, all these also disadvantages of democracy, because it happens during elections. Elections is a feature of democracy. And also, the poor can sell their votes at paltry sums, and this promotes corrupt leadership. You see what that's exactly why some governments keep the poor poor. They make the poor remain poor, because that's what they will use to win elections. That is to say, instead of improving the livelihood of the citizens, they keep them poor, so that close to the time of election, they can give them one bag of rice to share, and they will feel so grateful because they've not had that. And with that, they would vote you in. The poor can sell their votes. Just 2,000. Someone can decide to vote another person because he's poor. The person does not have money to feed himself or do the needful, and then sees a little money and sells his future. It's another disadvantage of democracy. Now, it is expensive to run due to the large political parties involved. It's expensive to run democracy. Now we look at communalism. Communalism refers to a political and economic arrangement in which land, as a major factor of production, is collectively owned. Land is collectively owned. In a communal community, for instance, members pursue a common goal collectively. And properties like land are owned collectively and shared among members on an equal basis. So in this system, you see that resources are utilized for the general interest of everybody. That's communalism. A political and economic arrangement in which land is collectively owned. What are the features of communalism? There are no class systems, so everybody cooperates with each other. But so there is collective ownership of property, like I've already said. 3, no member is allowed to own a private property because it's collectively owned. No one who owns private property. And number 4, members of a communal society share common culture and identity. The means of exchange is trade by barter. Give me this and take the other one. It's not money. Everybody has the spirit of cooperation. They help each other in building houses on the farm, etc. Help each other in building houses, help each other on the farm, and other things. Everybody has a spirit of cooperation as the feature of communalism. Then labor is not sold, and there is absence of exploitation. You don't pay to work for. You don't collect money to work for somebody. You work together. If everybody's working for you, then tomorrow you work with everybody for another person and like that. So you're not collecting money to work for another person. Another person is not paying you to work for him. So because of that, you discover there is no sort of exploitation. Like you want to build a house, I want to work for you, I want to work, and collecting this and makes it high, so that the person cannot even earn that and stuff. It promotes collective interest and discourages individual objectives. And the community is allowed to operate at full autonomy with different identities. Those are the features of communalism. So we look at feudalism. Feudalism is a system of government based on land ownership and control. This one is a primitive system. It's practiced in Western Europe in the Middle Ages. Lands were owned and controlled by kings and emperors. So the king who grants land, call it fief, to the subjects. Those are the vassals. So kings grant land to the subjects, who, as part of their functions, must in return work for the king on certain days or fight on his behalf. That's in feudalism. Feudalism is a form of decentralized oligarchy. So government controlled by a few people, based on land ownership. So political leadership was based on land ownership. Industrialization brought about the collapse of feudalism. Now capitalists became influential, and the relationship that existed between landowners and their, servants, transformed to that of capitalists and proletariats. That's laborers. The features of feudalism: the system was based on land ownership. Okay, the lands were owned by kings or emperors. The land's users must in return work and offer services to the king. So it's the duty of the landowners or lords to protect the servants. The feudal tenants in the feudal systems must give military assistance to the owner of the land. The lords exercise governmental power, that's legislative, military, executive, and judiciary power over the servants, who have no political rights. There was a class system. You have the barons or landowners and the servants who had no land. So the barons and the landowners, the serfs or the vassals, had no land. There was constant war and insecurity in the states. But what are the advantages? Number 1, feudalism laid the foundation for capitalism. So it gave rise to capitalism. Number 2, it instituted orderliness and avoided anarchy. 3, it provided the servants with a level of security. 4, it gave the freed slaves a limited freedom to enter into contracts with the lord. And 5, it fostered among the big landlords self-reliance and love for personal freedom. But what are the disadvantages? The serfs, were brutally oppressed and exploited. The system gave rise to autocratic leadership who ruled the vassals as they wished. 3, loyalty and obedience were to the landowners and not to the government. And then 4, the state was divided into semi-independent parts. could not act as a whole state. And lastly, there was no national government. So we're going to socialism, which we've already done in economics, but let's just brush it through again. So socialism is the ideology that advocates collective ownership, collective control, collective organization of the means of production, means of distribution, and exchange of goods and services. Refer to economics, you understand better. Now, in this system, most of the factors of production and distribution are controlled and operated by the government on behalf of the citizens. Goods and services are produced with the aim of satisfying the wants of the whole citizens and not to profit anyone. That is not profit derived. Now, the ideology was formulated by Karl Marx, a German who lived 1816 to 1883. And through his ideology, he hoped to fight evils of capitalism. Socialism was to fight capitalism. What are the features? The government owns and controls almost all the means of production and distribution. 2. The goods and services are not produced to make profits, but rather according to the needs and satisfaction of the citizens. 3. There is a central planning of production, distribution, and exchange of goods and services. 4. Full employment are of cardinal principles of socialism. 5. Socialism encourages equality and equal opportunities for all. And 6. Wealth is distributed according to individual contribution and needs. So I'm rushing that because we've done socialism before and capitalism. So when I get to capitalism, I will as well rush. So we get to communism. Communism is the highest stage of socialism. Remember, the highest stage of socialism is communism. Is in which all the means of production and distribution are totally controlled by the government. Totally controlled by the government. So individual ownership of property is completely abolished in a communist state. Now, Karl Marx also produced this ideology. Now, the theory and principle of communism has that the state owns everything and resources are distributed to the citizens according to their needs and ability. No country has ever practiced communism. No country. Because the people will not be able to own anything. The government owns everything. No country. But I've heard of I schooled in Cross River, so I heard of a local government in Cross River. In fact, as a matter of fact, my classmate is from there. He called me again. Okay, we talked last month. And I was still able to ask him, does that thing still work? What's that thing? In his local government, nobody owns land. The government owns the land. And this is what they do. If you want to build a house, you go and apply. And the government will give you a portion of the land. Free. Nothing, you don't pay. And when they give you this, the only thing you need to do is maybe you buy drinks, all those traditional things, and gather people, and people know that this is your land now. And then you build on it. It's happening till today. So you don't buy land. Now, I asked him when I was in school though, because that's when he told me that. Why? He said there was always fight over land in the community. So the government had to seize all land from everybody and distribute it according to their will. And another thing is that once the government discovered that there is a natural resource on that land, then they give you another portion to build and take over that place again because it wasn't yours. So I'm not saying that's communism, but there is a total control of land ownership in that community by the government. Features of communism. Number 1, communism advocates the complete abolition of government and a stateless society where there is no government, exploitation nor oppression. Number 2, it seeks to enthrone a classless society where everybody is equal, socially and economically. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Now, citizens receive resources only according to their needs and ability. Let's move away from that. Now we get to capitalism. Capitalism, of course, it's an economic ideology which permits individuals to own and control the means of production, distribution, and exchange in a country, while the economic activity of the government is at a minimum. So, political and economic ideology is practiced in nearly all countries of the world, and after the fall of socialism in 1900. Now, in this system, private individuals who have the economic strength participate in all sectors of the economy. Of course, profit is the main motive or reason for participation, as resources are allocated according to their prices. What are the features of capitalism? Private individuals are permitted under the law to own and control most means of production and distribution. Government participation is very minimal. The consumers have a wide range of choice in a capitalist economy, and the forces of demand and supply of essential commodities determine their price and product distribution. The forces, that's demand and supply, determine price and distribution. Remember, law of demand. The major goal of the businessmen in a capitalist economy is profit. All they want is profit. Nobody sets up a company to produce noodles because he wants to feed the nation or because the nation needs food. That's what the government would do. That would be in a socialist state. But in a capitalist state, somebody sets up that because he wants to make profit. So after calculating everything, if he doesn't make profit, he shuts it down or increases the price. So profit is the main reason. Then there is usually competition and economic rivalry between firms. consumers, etc. A capitalist society promotes a class society. So there are three classes of people in the capitalist society. Three classes. We have the peasants. These are the downtrodden masses that are struggling to earn their living. Peasants. Then we have the bourgeoisie. They are the rich capitalists that own large businesses. They have large organizations and control political power. There are three types of these bourgeoisie. That's national bourgeoisie. Pardon me, which are people that become wealthy through hard work. They have comparado. They have those. There are those who make wealth through fraud, money laundering, drug trafficking, etc. Then we have the petit, which are the emerging wealthy persons. Okay. Now, what is proletariat? Proletariat. Hi. Now, this refers to the working class persons that earn their livelihood by selling their labor for a wage or salary. Apart from the proletariat, there is also a set of people known as the lumpen proletariat. They, are the unemployed or rather underemployed people in the society. They're usually security risk in the society. Now, capitalism is often associated with democratic principles. They're still on the features now. Now, this is evident in the choice of leadership and admission of individual liberties. A capitalist state allows freedom of enterprise. So you have private individuals who can own companies and manufacture goods at their own choice. As a capitalist state, that allows that. Now, there is use of advanced technology for high-level productivity. That's because of competition. This one produces this and this one produces this, and that person wants to make his own better. So technology comes in and it does, with high precision. Before you know, there is a lot of competition. An increase in profits, don't forget. The masses can determine what type of goods to buy and where to work. So there are no laws restricting people from working in any particular firm or working for the government. There is personal liberty in capitalist system. So move ahead. Fascism. Fascism is the ideology based on the concept of force and total compliance to the tunes of the authority. It's regarded as the philosophy, principle, and organization of the aggressive nationalist and anti-communist dictatorship. It started as a movement in Italy in 1922 and came to an end in 1943 under Benito Mussolini. The ideology condemns both capitalism and socialism. It rejects peace, rejects democracy, rejects the rule of law, and rather glorifies war. That's fascism. What are the features? One, it encourages aggressive nationalism. Two, in a fascist state, the political leader is supreme, respected, and even worshipped. The leader makes all laws. Right and authority are derived from him. The system does not give room for existence of any form of opposition. Where there is an opposition, it is usually destroyed by force. The state has absolute control over all aspects of a citizen's life. Your religion, your education, all those controlled by the government. The state, the political participation is reserved for the elites, while the majority are excluded. Only the people that are wealthy or highly placed can participate in political, offices and stuff. Fascism rejects popular views. The law of God and religion in general. Fascism rejects all those ones. It glorifies war, which is believed to be the only means to peace. Believe that war is the only means to peace. Can you imagine? And let's get to Nazism. Nazism is a type of totalitarianism practiced in Germany under Adolf Hitler. Remember Adolf Hitler, who caused the Second World War. Between 1933 and 1945. It's a political ideology which strongly believes that the German race is superior to the individual. It's also believed that the national being based on the unity of blood. The state has full control over the activities and personal liberties of the citizens. And as the leadership is always right. That's Nazism. Now, the features. The leader is always right and controls all powers of the government. There is only one political party. That's the Nazist political party. The leaders of the political party were automatically the leaders of the government. The government owns and controls the mass media. You don't say what they don't want you to say. You only say what they authorize you to say. So the government owns the mass media, controls them. Opposition were not allowed. Now, labor unions and other forms of pressure groups were prohibited because labor unions would try to influence the government to favor them or stuff. Pressure groups, all those rioting, all these what they call it, carrying placards, and it was not allowed. You'd be shot at sight. So the rule of law and fundamental human rights were not recognized. Government controlled everything, controlled the economy centrally. So orders are sent by the government streets. Everybody under that territory must obey. The use of force and brutality to oppress the people was a major feature of the Nazist government. Force. So you can imagine now, you can understand why those days, the Second World War, why the Germans fought those battles. They were forced, coerced, in fact threatened, so they had no choice but to fight. Even with those that didn't want to fight, it's a different thing from the war against with Russia and Ukraine. See, some people in Russia did not like the war, so they spoke up. You can go on, if you go online and check, you see some Russians saying, even doing riots, and then they go and carry placards and carry stuff and say that they don't want the war. Inside the Russia that they are fighting, they're still there, they are alive. That's to show that Nazism is not practiced there. If it were to be in Germany in the time of Adolf Hitler, and you carry that placard because we are starting a war, you'll be shot immediately. Everybody dies. So it's one of the things that was brought up by that NSAS protest also. So people were asking questions. If it's a Nazi government that Nigeria is, in Buhari's government, that people came out to protest and they ordered soldiers to shoot. So this idea was brought up again and everybody had to go back inside. Now, we get to totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is a form of government which involves absolute control of persons, absolute control of ideas, absolute control of properties by the government. It's also referred to as authoritarianism. It allows only one political party to control and exist in the state. Now, under this form of government, the citizens are the properties of the state. Citizens are owned by the state. The mass media and the laws are meant to favor the tune of government. Citizens must obey the rulers at the expense of their fundamental human rights. So if they say, do this, and if you do it, you're going to die, you don't think of yourself, you think of them, the government. The rulers at the expense of their... Examples include the Nazi government in Germany and the fascist rule in Italy. Those are examples of totalitarianism. What are the features? There is a supreme authority which controls everything. And there is one dominant political party which controls the state, and there is no room for any other opposition. Force and brutality is used to rule the masses. There is a presence of autocratic government, which leads to the absence of the rule of law. The government controls the mass media, remember? And there is the existence of a single ideology and philosophy. That's the one brought up by the government. Alright. Now remember that a state is a politically organized body of people occupying a definite geographical entity or territory with an organized government free from external control and has coercive power to secure obedience from its citizens and others. That's the definition of a state. The characteristics of states, remember, population, territory, must possess a definite territory. The territory includes the air, the ocean, and natural features, and be either small or big with clear-cut boundaries, separating it from others. Characteristics of states: population, territory, government. We must have a government. Sovereignty, that's power of a state to make and enforce laws within its territory without another state having the right to say something different. So that's sovereignty. And then recognition. The state must be recognized both internally and externally, as other countries in the international arena must recognize your existence. Also, membership. It's very compulsory for one to be a member of a state, either by birth or that means of acquiring citizenship. So, if you be able to, the state should have a well-defined membership policy. Law. It's also a characteristic of a state. There are laws of the land, constitution. Then permanence. A state is permanent. Remember, I said individuals can die. Even the government can be removed, but the state cannot be removed unless it is conquered in a war, like what Russia is doing with Ukraine. If Russia wins the battle, they've taken over Ukraine. Ukraine is permanent until if that kind of thing happens. If Ukraine wins Russia, Ukraine takes over Russia. That's how the only way permanence can be taken over permanence of a state. Then nation. The nation refers to a group of people who are united by common ties as a result of common culture, common origin and descent. So they have the same political aspirations and consciousness of unity. Now, it's the consciousness of unity that is referred to as nationalism. The consciousness of unity is nationalism, or sense of nationality. So a nation possesses all attributes of a state except sovereignty. For a nation to be seen as a state, it must gain political independence and have the supreme power to make and enforce its own laws. Remember, when we say states, we're not talking about states that are ruled by a government. Okay? Remember somebody that was head of state of Nigeria. So state doesn't necessarily mean Akwa State, River State. Okay. But for you to be a nation, you speak the same dialect, you have the same culture, you are united in so many other ways. So having said that, do you think Nigeria is a nation? No. We don't speak the same dialect, we don't have the same culture, we don't have the same religion, so many different things. So we don't have we're not united by common ties. We don't have a common culture, we don't have a common origin and descent. Okay. Now, political culture. Political culture may be defined as your attitudes, the beliefs, the emotions, sentiments, ideas, the values that guide the behavior of the people in any given state politically. It is a political way of life which is developed by the society over a period of time. So they would include method of election, people's reactions to election, tolerance, and other factors that encourage democracy. Those are the things included in political culture. What are the components? Number one, cognitive orientation. That's the people's knowledge about the political system. Is cognitive orientation. People's knowledge about the beliefs and about the government and the role of government officials. That's cognitive orientation. Then we have evaluative orientation. That's how the citizens can evaluate the performance of the people in government. That's evaluative orientation. How the people can evaluate the performance of the people in government, the efficiency and effectiveness of the policies of the government. Then we have number three, affective orientation, which is the feeling of the people towards the political system and their government. So affective orientation can also mean that if the people are proud of their government and political institution and loyal to them, or if they feel indifferent. That's the affective orientation of political culture. Affective has to do with the emotions. Evaluative, so we had three components: cognitive orientation, evaluative orientation, and affective orientation. What are the determinants of political culture? We have different ethnicity. They believe that each tribe has a distinct culture, has an impact on the people's political culture, and this brings about difference in political culture. Also have historical development. A society's historical development determines and influences its political culture. Okay, we have colonial mentality. I'm mentioning the determinants of political culture. Number one, different ethnicity. Number two, historical development. Three, colonial mentality. Four, socioeconomic structure. And then five, political instability. Those are. So, lastly, for today, political socialization is a process whereby the citizens of the country are educated on the values, the attitudes, and beliefs of the political system. So, the political culture of the society is transmitted from one generation to another through this political socialization I'm talking about. As the citizens of the country are politically aware, and they know the roles they should play. Now, through political socialization, you see the citizens will display pride, patriotism, loyalty, and above all, they will display nationalistic feelings to the nation. Like you see, Americans love their country. Every citizen, they love their country. They love their country more than they love the government. So they would die for their country. Wherever you see them, they represent their country. I love America. No, agents of political socialization. The family, of course, the home is the first place that the person receives political upbringing. Because children will learn by observing what their parents do. So they observe and they do whatever they learn. With that, whatever political view the parents have, the children would want to be carrying that along. As the first agent of political socialization, the family. Also, the school. Through educational institutions, the person can learn about national politics, like you're learning history and practices and how to play political roles. It can be learned in the schools, another agent. Three, the peer groups. You know what peer groups are. The person is known by the group he keeps. Like playmates, friends. This set of people can influence your political views, so peer groups. Then political parties. They stimulate the political awareness and consciousness of the people. So the members of political parties, of course, they are educated. And they through manifest they're educated. You see, close to the time of election, they will announce it on radio, announce on TV. They will come out and put posters and all those. Even if you did not even know anything about political parties, close to the time of election, you will know all of them because you will see posters, you will hear things about this. This one will come out and talk. So that's another agent of political society. They make you learn the political parties. Then the mass media, of course. There's a newspaper, radio, television, magazines that they entertain and inform the masses. People gain the knowledge from what they read, they listen and watch from the mass media. Then religious groups. This year's presidential election was really represented in churches, many religious organizations, because everybody wanted change. And though some had some tribalistic thing in mind, but largely religious organizations did a lot of work in this election that was finished. So politics and religion go hand in hand. Religious groups teach and direct their members on the political course to follow. They say vote the right leader. In churches, pray for the nation, pray for the right leader, pray for this and all that. And then they even sensitize people to go and vote. This election that just finished, we saw so many things, and pastors saying if you don't have your PVC, you can't enter the church. Just trying to prepare people to be able to vote right and all that. Okay, so pressure groups also very strong agents of socialization. They offer their members leadership training and educate them on their political rights, their duties and obligations. Right.